Is Darren Rizzi doing anything to improve his candidacy going forward? He saw the ship sinking for a little while, and he pulled Jake Haener and put Spencer Rattler in. So has he done anything to increase his chances of getting this head coaching job long term?
It's an interesting kind of thought process here on this. Last week I think I was really down on him. This week I feel really up on him. So it kind of feels like, let me see how everything kind of plays out. I just didn't think they did a good job against the Giants. It felt like a loss, and this loss felt like a win. I'll say this though, like as I previously mentioned, I don't disagree with the decision to start Haener, and I think a lot of coaches are afraid to admit a mistake. And I think they kind of stick with what they're doing because they don't want to make a public declaration that they did something wrong. And ideally, you would have preferred to see Darren Rizzi just know that Jake Haener wasn't going to be viable in that role and just go straight to Spencer Rattler and know that Spencer Rattler was going to play better than he did in any of the previous 3 games and that it was going to be this. And you could see all that in practice, but they didn't. And that happens. And not every decision you make as a coach is going to be perfect. I kind of like that it played out with this though, because it allowed us to kind of see his DNA a little bit. And it's one thing to kind of, talk about it, show it, versus showing it. I think he kind of showed what was in his DNA today, though, is that he has said, like, there's a way to win every game. It's my job to try to find it. Today I think he did what he had to do to try to find it at the risk of, saying, hey, I screwed up, and you're telling Mickey Loomis and Dennis Ausha and Gail Benson and everybody, hey, I made the wrong decision to start the game. B, I'm going to Rattler. That's not an easy decision to make, though, because if Rattler falters, then now you've just screwed up everything. And now it's all of a sudden, well, if you would have prepared Rattler, maybe he would have played better, and it would have been that. So it becomes a colossal just shit show if that goes sideways, and you're at risk of that as the interim coach. Like, you're kind of putting everything on the line, making that decision by A, first admitting it, and B, possibly making it worse. But C, that's the only way out of the mess. And he was willing to kind of risk his own stature for the good of the team, putting that above his own interest, kind of, because you could just go out with it and kind of just have one mistake and not risk a bigger mistake. And then next week you prepare Rattler and you start him, you know what I mean? But like, he was willing to kind of risk it all to try to find a way to win this game, and kind of seeing that, I do give him credit for that. That doesn't mean I'm hiring him. I do think that today he made his candidacy stronger, but that doesn't mean that a stronger candidacy or a strong resume, if you were starting the coaching search today, I would say that his resume is kind of pretty strong. But that doesn't mean you hire him. You don't run a process. I still think that I need to be convinced a little bit more overall. I'm not going there with him at this point. But I think that today was a good day for him, and I think he kind of showed a little bit of something. And I'm for that. Like I liked what we saw today.
It's funny. We got this graphic on the bottom of the screen that says Rizzi is 3-2 as an interim coach, and I was halfway through a text saying, "Oh, you need to correct that. He's actually 2-3," because I was so sure this was their 3rd straight loss, and then I remembered, oh yeah, they actually beat the Giants last week. I'm exactly like you, and that's the problem is their second half against the Rams was lousy. Their entire game against the Giants was lousy, and the first half of this game was horrible. And if Terry McLaurin catches one of the 3 times he was wide open down the field, they don't even get this chance to come back, and they lose this one by double digits. And we're talking about a 3-game losing streak. So does that all get, washed under by what we see in that nice rally where they almost won the game? Part of me thinks yes. I do agree with you. You got to learn about somebody in a situation. He was faced with a moment of test, and he passed the test. He did everything right. He again showed this team can be down 17-0 and benching their quarterback, and they can still come back and fight like that. So those are moments where you learn about somebody, and it does add to the aura around Darren Rizzi. There's absolutely an aura. I mean, even national writers who cover the NFL said, I saw one that got retweeted that said, if he doesn't get the job, he should jump to the top of the list of special teams coordinator / assistant head coach because of the way he manages games. I think that was Connor Orr, maybe, if I want to give credit, but I think I saw Albert Breer tweeting nice things about it. Like, national people are noticing decisions he makes, energy he brings, that stuff's real. He has improved his. Me and B were talking about it earlier this week. Whatever his Madden, or me and Kevin were talking about it on the members only, I think. Whatever his Madden rating was before, he's gotten notice now, and they've had to go in and give him a new rating. I don't know if that'll be enough for him to be chosen as the head coach, but he's improving the views of him, no question about it.
Look, I mean, I think one thing that we got to say though too, like, and I'm not giving it, like, the Giants game needed to be way better. The second half against the Rams needed to be better, all that stuff. But like, the roster kind of sucks, you know. Like let's just be honest. Like, it's probably, like, as it stands right now with all the injuries and everything, it's probably like a 3-4 win roster with a $40 million quarterback that has led them to, you know, a win or two that maybe they shouldn't have gotten. But yeah, I mean, led is a strong word, but I mean, you know, if it's just kind of, you know, they aren't that good right now. Like, there's a lot of injured players, so I don't know what the expectation reasonably should be. I think they, you know, underperformed last week, and I think they significantly overexceeded it in the second half of this game.
Yeah, one thing that kind of just summing it up, he wasn't afraid to pull the ripcord. He wasn't afraid to, you know, when he jumped out the plane, like, oh man, I need my parachute, and then pull it. And then he's not in the business of self-sabotage. He's not in the business of saying, well, I made this decision. Let's stand on this decision, whatever happens. He was like, nah, a change needs to be made. Come in here, make the change. But also, you talk about the drop touchdowns and all that stuff like that. The Commanders are currently the 7th seed. Boy, they on fraud watch. Because it always kind of seemed like the Saints in the second half were in that game with non-starters. Next week, we'll have to see if RIzzi could keep it up, because they got to play the 6th seed in Green Bay, who has 9 wins. So very interested to see what happens, but I really do like that RIzzi wasn't scared to say, all right, we need a change, and then make that change immediately when he had to see it.
What's interesting, I was actually talking to a Washington reporter. It seems like they've got that 7th seed locked up, but they host the Falcons in a couple of weeks, so the Falcons can get frisky if they want to do what the Saints couldn't.